Well, I mean, very, very big picture. The Chinese Communist Party is evil. It uses rape as a form of torture. It harvests organs from people. So the CCP is bad. It's not just, again, it's not a moral equivalency between the U.S. government. So
Yes. And
taking care of that.
Yes, the CCP is a very particular type of authoritarian Marxist-Leninist system that seeks control and hegemony over the world, even though they will not say that.
This is probably preaching to the choir, but it needs to be said.
Right. And then so the next step is ByteDance, right, which is a private company in theory, but like all private companies in China, it is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. There's a CCP committee you can see from this photo that like the staff in ByteDance understand that they're under the control of the Communist Party.
Well, I think even outside of that, like one of the biggest shareholders, I think, is like a state-controlled company, another state-controlled company.
So there's something called a golden share, which is essentially ByteDance, like a lot of other Chinese tech companies, had to give a 1% stake to a group of like state-run companies, including the Cyberspace Administration of China, which is like essentially like the government agency that censors the internet in China.
Yeah.
So the Chinese government directly owns a 1% stake, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's called a golden share because it allows them to appoint one of the 3 board of directors for ByteDance.
1 of 3, okay.
1 out of 3. So there is directly somebody appointed by the CCP on ByteDance's board. So like they're in control at the very top, right? And then there's what Matt was talking about, which is like companies of a certain size in China. What is it, 50 employees? Like
it's 50.
50 employees have to have Communist Party branches in their companies, right? So
and there's also what is the consequence for a company that refuses to abide by an order given by the CCP?
I mean, you cannot refuse, right?
Well, I mean, like think about when Apple refused to unlock the phone of someone who committed like a terrorism-related like shooting or bombing, right? This was years ago when Apple refused to do that.
Yeah, I don't remember what the crime was, but I do remember Apple refusing.
So Apple basically said, we're going to stand up to the U.S. government. And the consequence is that the government was mad, and then eventually the NSA like figured out how to unlock the phone anyway after like a couple months. But basically Apple stood up publicly to the US government. That happens all the time in the US. Companies push back against the government. In China, companies do not push back against the government, which is controlled by the party. That they have to do what the party says, or the consequence is they get shut down and the individual leadership can also go to jail.
Well, we saw what happened with Jack Ma, where he like did some minor criticism about government policies and disappeared for months.
No, he was totally fine. Very happy, just relaxing.
Fine. Well, so specifically, this did happen to Jiang Yimin, the guy who founded
ByteDance.
Mm-hmm. There was like some CCTV report, criticizing like specifically like the news section of ByteDance.
Yeah, it was this app called
Toutiao,
which is like a news aggregator app, but they had this other, like, I don't know if it was a separate app that was called like Neihan Duanzi, which is like, it was kind of a funny app where people could post like jokes and memes and things, but it all had to do with like current event stuff. So then the CCP didn't like that. And they criticized it for not being, like having the wrong, like, thought, like not being guided.
Incorrect.
Yeah, like not being guided by the morals.
It went against
like,
socialist core values.
Yes, exactly, of the new era.
Well, so yeah, the Jiang Yimin, the founder of ByteDance, he had to make this public apology, and we can provide a link for that as well because it's out there. But yeah, he was talking about how like, he's going to really be guided by socialist core values.
I mean, he basically used a bunch of like these words that related to like Xi Jinping's like whole like new era stuff, and it was definitely essentially one of those political self-criticism things, right, where he had to come out and like apologize to the CCP so that they wouldn't shut ByteDance down.
Yeah. So,
and they also closed that app, like they got rid of that entire thing that was making them upset.
Yeah, so absolutely, I think we've established Chinese Communist Party is bad. They have a lot of control over ByteDance. Now let's make the connection to TikTok and let's look at some of the things TikTok has done.
But so TikTok is wholly owned by ByteDance.
Yes,
It's
it is
just
not a separate company.
right. And so ByteDance owns TikTok and also Douyin it's basically similar to TikTok except it's the one that's available in China.
There's a weird thing where some people think that TikTok is banned in China.
Yeah.
But like it just is that there is a domestic version of TikTok which is called Douyin.
And it's basically the same as TikTok, except that the degree of censorship is more obvious, and it's also in Mandarin.
I mean, people have been like, I've had people say to me, well, China has banned TikTok. We're going to ban it too. We're going to be just like the Chinese Communist Party. You guys are spared a lot of stress by not managing the social media accounts. But yes, so
I feel like you're just like slowly going crazy.
I am slowly going crazy. This wasn't bad, but yeah, TikTok totally. They have the CEO is Singaporean, so they always pull like, but TikTok, the owner is Singaporean. He's not Chinese.
I mean, it's not the owner; he's a CEO.
The
but
CEO,
but he's not Chinese. That's true.
Haha. So no connection at all.
Do we want to talk about the spying first or the censorship first?
There's so much.
Yeah.
It's also a little racist to say that the CEO could or couldn't be involved in spying because of his like ethnicity or country of origin.
There was one bad like congressional inquiry into TikTok where I forget who the senator was, but was like who asked the TikTok CEO point blank, have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party? And his response was, I'm Singaporean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's perfect little propaganda right there.
Yeah, exactly. That does make that, first of all, that senator look bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, hey, we got censorship first on our little handy doc here. So let's start there. How about
censorship?
I mean,
actually, I don't want you to talk about censorship. I think we can't talk about that on this show.
Matt Ganese to overreach.
Yeah, well, I think, there are people who think that TikTok doesn't censor, but...
Wait, I know how to set this up for the YouTube. We're going to tell you about all the horrible ways TikTok has been spying on you, but first, we'll talk about censorship, so stay tuned till the end. Like and subscribe.
We're really bad at being YouTubers, actually, aren't we?
Yes, we're held together by like Scotch tape and wishes and dreams.
Thank you nonetheless for watching.
Yes.
And Chris slowly going crazy over arguing with people on Instagram.
I'm only 23.
Well, okay, so censoring. Remember a few years ago when it came out that TikTok had these censorship lists, right, of words that were essentially censored in China that they also weren't,
Oh, I remember that.
Yep. There was the issue of like Uyghurs saying that like stuff that they were posting about what was happening, that genocide was being censored.
Specifically I remember there was this one channel, it was like, it started off as like a makeup tutorial, but then the woman started talking about Uyghur genocide.
Yes, it was just one girl who decided she wanted to talk about this,
and they shut down her whole channel. And then there was a big outcry about like, wait a second, this doesn't make it seem like TikTok's an independent app. And then they reinstated the channel. But
that was just an oopsie. That was just
they said it was just the individual human error.
Yeah, that was individual. Okay, so this was interesting. This is from an article from The Information that says it talks also about how in 2019, when the Hong Kong protests were going on, U.S. employees of TikTok were horrified to discover that content moderators on the global team who reported to TikTok managers in China were taking down videos of demonstrations.
So they were censoring Hong Kong protests.
Yeah, so they definitely censor. I don't know where this idea that TikTok censors less than U.S. media, like U.S. social media, comes from.
Yeah. There's that is a lie that is going around a lot. Like, oh, what did TikTok ever do to Americans? TikTok is the only place we can get information about Israel.
I mean, there has been a lot of kind of pro-Hamas type like stuff on TikTok.
Yes. Well, and that was interesting because this also shows a level of control. After the October 7th attack, TikTok was pushing a lot of pro-Hamas or pro-Palestine content. And, for many Americans, young Americans, this is the first they've ever really learned about it. But then we saw that, like, when it was APEC time, it dialed down on that when Xi Jinping was coming to San Francisco.
But like TikTok is a totally independent company. It doesn't care about what the Chinese Communist Party wants.
This definitely shows that there are narratives that the Chinese Communist Party is able to push and dial back at their choosing.
Yeah. Wasn't there also that thing about how somehow the TikTok algorithm was promoting a lot of videos of like younger people talking about how America was terrible, and they were actually reading something that was written by
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah. It was, I'm sure it was just.
Yeah. Why would the Chinese Communist Party try to create a social media app that influences a lot of young Americans? Who knows?
They also push CCP propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to defend COVID lockdowns in China, to do a bunch of apologize, like kind of saying that no, like nothing's wrong with what's happening in Xinjiang to the Uyghurs. Like the Uyghurs are just happy people who are dancing all the time.
Yeah.
There's no genocide here. That kind of stuff being pushed through TikTok. Yeah.
And there was the thing about the European ad library where they basically released, they have like the ads that go out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the Europe market, there was like a bunch of essentially Chinese state created propaganda ads. Like, some of them were kind of benign, like cats playing on the Great Wall of China, but others were like, basically how great everything is in Xinjiang and all the happy Uyghurs and that kind of thing. So like there's definitely that's direct propaganda being pushed out through the app.
I mean, to be fair, you can get that kind of propaganda through YouTube as well and stuff. So.
I mean, I also sometimes when you watch China Unscripted videos on YouTube, like it is possible to get an advertisement from state-run media in China just because we don't control what those pre-roll ads are.
But if you ever do get an ad from the state-run media in China on a China Uncensored or China Unscripted video, make a comment. We'd be amused to know about that. Yeah.
But, I mean, keep in mind the TikTok CEO has said that, I'm quoting, ByteDance engineers around the world may assist in developing TikTok algorithms. And those algorithms, this is now me talking, I'm not quoting anymore. But yeah, TikTok uses those algorithms to censor things the Communist Party doesn't want you to know. And like... The Guardian did a story about that, how those things include content related to world leaders, Tiananmen Square, Tibetan independence, Falun Gong, as well as, quote, highly controversial topics.